These kids are petrified of the world that they live in. Our role is to try and mitigate some of that fear. Picture 30 or 40 bikers, walking in looking like this, escorting a child into the courtroom. It has a big impact, and it empowers that child to really give their victim impact statement and not be afraid of what that perpetrator is going to do. We got their back.
Today in studio, we've got not one, but two amazing men. They're representing the Bikers Against Child Abuse Long Island chapter, also known in short as B.A.C.A.
Bikers Against Child Abuse started in 1995.
Why would we entrust you or your organization with the well-being of the kid? What qualifies you and the organization's members?
There is a study, it's done by a clinical psychiatrist that shows what we do works. Kids that are involved in our organization, statistically, the numbers of them willing to testify are higher.
What's some of the misconceptions people have about bikers? Because I'm sure there's a ton.
Fuck this shit. We're taking our bikes. We're going to go as bikers because that's who we are. And we had a lot of people coming up to us and saying, hey, I didn't know. Right. I did not know that bikers were really cool. What's not awesome about trying to help kids that have been abused, right?
Welcome to another episode of the Real Mentors podcast. As always, REAL stands for Real Examples, Altering Lives. And I'm your host, Sean Martin. Today in studio, we've got not one, but two amazing men who are out here doing God's work. They're representing the Bikers Against Child Abuse Long Island chapter, also known in short as B.A.C.A. I had the opportunity to meet these gentlemen at the Imagine Awards, which is a local Long Island-based and New York City-based organization which highlights, promotes, and encourages donations and fundraising for a plethora of the island and the city's nonprofit organizations, both large and small. So today in studio, I've got Scout here. Scout, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming. I know that we were supposed to do this last time, and for whatever reason, it didn't work out, but here we are. Tell us a little bit about your personal experience here with the Long Island chapter of B.A.C.A.
It's probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my life. Great people in the chapter as far as members go. The mission is awesome. What's not awesome about trying to help kids that have been abused, right? From what I've seen is these kids are petrified of the world that they live in. And our role is to try and mitigate some of that fear, right? And we do that by being present. You have to be present for these kids. They like having bikers around, I guess, because of the way we look. Right. Certainly we have much bigger and much tougher looking bikers than me. I'm the little guy of the group. So, but it's been an amazing experience.
It's the little ones you got to worry about.
Yeah,
you get the most fight in you sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
And it's crazy you say that because of the way you look. So there was this table full of bikers at the event, all looking badass. And I'm like, fuck is this? And I don't get dressed up in a suit too often, but I have my little outfit on this day, so I'm looking pretty. And your table just stands out like a sore thumb. And then when you guys come up on the screen, I'm like, oh, this is fucking amazing. And I made a beeline straight to you after the event was over just to tell you how cool what you did was. What's some of the misconceptions people have about bikers? Because I'm sure there's a ton.
There are, and sometimes we use that to our advantage, right? Bikers are some of the most giving people that I've ever come across. Never judge a book by its cover, right? It's very hard sometimes to get in the door to some of these agencies that refer children, domestic violence agencies and whatnot, because of the way we look. And, some of the biggest hearts of some of these guys. And, when we went to the Imagine Awards, there was some debate. It's kind of like a black tie affair.
Right.
And we had some discussions. We're like, you know what? Fuck this shit. We're taking our bikes. We're going to go as bikers because that's who we are. And my guess is had we wore suits, we would have probably not been as noticed. And, we're hoping that when we apply for next year for the Imagine Awards, that maybe we'll get noticed because we did show up looking like this in a room full of 500, 600, 700 people that were in cocktail dresses and suits and whatnot. We had a lot of people coming up to us and saying, hey, I didn't know. Right. I did not know that bikers were really cool. They're really focused on charity. They're really focused on giving back to their community. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I got goosebumps because now I remember, coming in and parking, and you guys had a whole section of the parking lot, just bikes. And I was like, what's this? And then we see the table. So the misconception is you guys are badasses or even, bordering on criminal activity or roughing people up, smashing up bars, all the things we see in movies.
Sure.
And I said that to say that I saw a movie not too long ago, which was with Tom Hardy and this other young kid that played Elvis.
Yeah, the bike riders.
The bike riders.
Yeah.
And it spoke to the origins of bikers. I believe it was in the Midwest, if I'm not mistaken. Not sure where in the country, but it was made out of camaraderie and brotherhood. And then as the 70s rolled around and there's drugs and, then it became, the gang influence, I guess. And again, I'm just glossing over the little bit that I know. You guys, as you said, have used some of this to your advantage.
Yeah.
So in the space of protecting children, if you roll up to a house where, let's say, that parent is abusive, most likely a father, they're going to get a visceral reaction to 10 badasses or 5 or even 4 rolling up on the home. How's that experience been for you, and how have you used that to your advantage? So at this event, you used it to your advantage, and I'm glad you did because you were authentically you. If you would have dressed up in a suit, it doesn't have the same impact.
It's not us, right? It's not us.
So when you roll up to a house of a child that you're either meeting or responsible for protecting, how does that work in your favor?
So when we take a child in, one of the requirements is that the perpetrator cannot live in that home.
Okay.
With the child. The biggest chance that there is for any interaction with the perpetrator is most likely going to happen when we accompany the child to court. And it's a pretty powerful thing. If you look at our video, if a child is scheduled to go into court to give their victim impact statement, there's always that chance when you go to court where you have the perpetrator and his attorney, and then you have the victims and their attorneys. There's an opportunity for intimidation to happen. Not one way around, right? So we will meet the family typically in a parking lot before the court date, and we will ride in and escort that child. We will surround that child. Picture 30 or 40 bikers, walking in looking like this, escorting a child into the courtroom. It has a big impact. We don't even look at the perpetrator. Nothing is said. We don't look at the perpetrator. We're strictly there for the child, and that's enough. That's enough. And it empowers that child to really give their victim impact statement and not be afraid of what that perpetrator is going to do. We got their back.
Yeah, amen. And I'm glad you're educating not only my audience, but me, because intimidation and bullying is essentially what child abusers or domestic abusers are banking on.
Right.
I'm bigger than you. I'm stronger than you. I can hit you harder. And there's a weakness that comes from that. But they're portrayed to strength because they prey on the weak.
Right.
Now, you guys are honorable enough and mature enough and disciplined enough to know that you have that power over the abuser, and you still don't exercise it because, like you said, you're there for the child and the child only, and that has to lift their spirits and their confidence, which is the ultimate goal, to a level that maybe they've never even had before. The mother, the parents, and all the other ancillary victims of this weakling that decides he's going to beat on these people that are lesser than. What are some of, maybe without sharing too many details, some wild stories that you've had, in this pursuit of protecting these children?
So the abuse comes in all forms, right? Sometimes it's sexual abuse, sometimes it's physical abuse, sometimes it's verbal abuse. I don't want to get into any wild stories. So there are situations where if there's an imminent threat to that child, we will set up 24/7 outside of their house to be a physical presence if needed. And there's a whole system involved where somebody's, has their cell phone with them in case the perpetrator shows up to do something to that child. They can call 911. The police are always notified when we're showing up to one of these things. We've gone to, when we first welcome a child into the B.A.C.A family, we do it through a thing that we call a level 1, where everybody in the chapter goes, the child gets their own cut, they get to pick their own road name, they're welcomed into the family, they get assigned 2 primary points of contact that we call primaries that are available to the child 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And, there are situations, we had kind of a modified level 2 with a couple of kids where mom had to go to court, and we hung out with the kids in a hotel room to make sure that the kids were safe while mom was able to go, face the abuser in court and whatnot. And, I know Uprizer, who's going to come on your show in a little while. He was working security. I was one of the primary, so I was in the hotel room with the two kids. And, I think I still have nail polish on my cut somewhere, right? There's probably purple nail polish on here somewhere. So you'll see these big, tough bikers, they'll come out and their faces will be painted, their nails will be done, and not in black nail polish, pink and purple, depending on what, a lot of fun, a lot of laughter, in a troubling time in that kid's life.
Yeah.
It's these are really, really bad situations. And we're just, lucky enough that we have the opportunity to help them.
Now, let's talk about you. You're the vice president, correct?
Correct.
How long have you been involved with the Long Island chapter here?
Interestingly enough, I've only been riding motorcycles for about 3 years. A couple of gentlemen, I was an acting director for one of the domestic violence organizations on Long Island. And one of the staff members came in and she said, this going back probably about 7 or 8 years. She said, there's a couple of bikers that want to see you and talk to you. I said, why? I don't even own a motorcycle at that point in time. And I said, send them in. So these two big guys, they were, big guys. And I was like, can I help you guys? And one of the guys, looked at me. He's not in the chapter anymore. And he said, nobody will talk to us because the way we look. He goes, what do we got to do a presentation? I said, well, let's go. And from that moment on, I was so impressed with the organization. I left that position. And then probably 5 years later, I bought my first Harley. And I always had it in my mind. I emailed this guy up and I said, what does it take? And he said, come on down to the first meeting.
Nice.
And that was it.
Your skill set then translated from your past career to what you're doing now. Is this something you do full time or is something out of your own time that you give?
No. I'm an executive for one of the biggest not-for-profits on Long Island called the Connection Network.
Really?
We provide services for children and adults who are developmentally and intellectually disabled.
And what brought you to that career path? Because you seem to be in service of others as part of your career.
Yeah, I was on active duty in the United States Army. I was an officer for about 7.5 years active and another 7 in the reserves. When I came out, I worked for GE for a couple of years. I didn't really like it too much, and I wanted something a little bit more meaningful and impactful. And I just came across this organization called IGHL and applied for a job there and been there for 27 years.
Wow. What was it like for you growing up? Where'd you grow up? Are you an island guy?
I am. Grew up in Miller Place. Not born, but raised in Miller Place. I was lived in B.A.C.A, Queens.
That's further out east, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Miller Place? Yeah, way out.
Way out.
Like almost Riverhead out.
Almost Riverhead out.
Okay.
Yeah. And, I left home just like everybody else, went to Cortland, partied, had a great fucking time.
You went to SUNY Cortland?
Yeah, man.
Ithaca College.
Yeah, no shit.
I think we busted balls about this.
Yeah.
My snooty college, I got grants and scholarships to go, but they used to chant state school
Cortica.
at the Cortica jug.
Yeah.
I was like, that's some douchey shit to start screaming out.
Yeah,
because your
Cortica.
parents could afford like a better college for you.
Yeah, it was
but
crazy.
Those were some good times.
They were, man. They were, man. I don't remember much. I was pretty fucking drunk the whole time.
I got nothing to say about that.
Yeah,
I had some good times, though.
I mean, shit happens. But, we made a go of it. I was a young guy and just did the Army thing. And I've been, really at this point in my life where I'm around 60 years old, I do a lot of volunteer work.
Well, you look great, brother.
This is, like I said, this is probably one of the most meaningful things I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, I would imagine that keeping you young looking is doing some of God's work here.
No, I gotta.
That's all right. If it wasn't for the white hairs, but for the most part, brother, I see some 60-year-olds that are falling off a cliff. So.
I gotta get some Just for Men up in this shit, man.
I don't know, man. I like it. Don't be unauthentic,
yeah,
right?
No, I know.
Just like the biker outfits, roll up with your gray hairs. Maybe shave them down if you want a little trick, though. That's my trick. So what do you foresee in the near future for yourself in this organization? I'd also like for you to kind of paint the picture of how people can help the organization and get involved.
Yeah. So the chapter is growing. Right now, before you actually earn your back patch, in the motorcycle community, back patches are important, right? They identify who you're with and whatnot. The chapter we're going through a growth spurt right now. We have a few really good supporters coming in that I think are going to have a huge impact on the chapter. And getting those key people in place there. Right now, we have a great relationship with all the agencies that refer children to us. We would love people to send us money because we need money to do the mission. If you go on B.A.C.A.world.org, you can find our chapter and make a donation. We have our poker run tomorrow, the second. We're ending up in the Maples, so if people want to come out for a good party. But look us up, check us out. If you ride, we'd love to see you come to one of our meetings. Our next meeting is August 17th. And, that's where we're taking it. Recently, I took a position at the state level. B.A.C.A.'s, in 48 different states or so. And we're international as well. I'm the state secretary. So it's interesting to see what's going on in other chapters in the state, right. How different chapters do different things, and hopefully bring some of that knowledge back and use some best practices for the Long Island chapter.
Yeah, I love the fact that you guys have so many chapters to you have autonomy, but you're all part of a greater good. And there's going to be some chapters that are more successful than others. What are some of the things maybe you're doing internally to ramp up your own efforts? Because, having someone with a background in nonprofits like yourself has got to help. And it's not all, biker vests and good times. There's actually structure. And building my own nonprofit or helping others, I realized the board is your number one most important thing. Yeah. Because that's your governing body, and that's essentially the culture. Right. And what are some of the things you're doing now to make changes or shifts to scale to where you want to be?
So, like you mentioned, we are not a motorcycle club. We are a not-for-profit organization, 501c3. And, a lot of times, whether it's this not-for-profit, another not-for-profit, or in profit businesses, it's all about building relationships. Which is what, Uprizer and I are really focused on now with not only the agencies that refer children to us, but also, getting the word out from a PR standpoint. A lot of people still don't know what B.A.C.A is or what we do. And part of that is to really run good, top-notch events that people will remember and come back and support. And we happen to have an event coordinator. Her name's Hope. She is unbelievable in terms of her ability to organize people, to get people to come to these things. So we're starting to build that. The leadership that just left the chapter got us to a great point. We're looking to build on those successes and take it even further. Really to be able to get more kids in. We're trying to get more members in, trying to get more money in to help support. We pay for therapy for the kids as well, if their insurance, because a lot of times insurance doesn't cover. And therapy gets expensive.
Oh, yeah. Even co-pays or any of that, if they have, kind of rinky-dink insurance.
Absolutely.
Co-pays are higher. These people are living... Check to check's an understatement. They might live dollar to dollar, $5 to $5, hand to mouth. So we love what you do. We've got a unique situation today. We're actually going to split this interview in two. So, I want to thank Scout for bringing her expertise as the vice president of B.A.C.A here in Long Island. And after you watch this quick video, we're going to bring out the head of public relations. Uprizer is going to come on, tell us a little bit more about the organization and how they can help, or how you can help, rather. I just wanted to thank you, brother, for coming out, sharing your time, and also thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
It's
Appreciate
much
it.
needed, and I can't wait to see you guys scale. Check out this video, learn more about B.A.C.A.
What do I get out of B.A.C.A? Wow. The knowledge knowing that I've done something that no one else can do. And that's to give a child their life back.
B.A.C.A is probably the only organization that can do what it does that exists in the world right now.
The goal of B.A.C.A is eventually to break the chains of child abuse, so these children don't grow up and bring what happened to them into their relationships.
First found out about B.A.C.A through my counselor, and she said that we should look into this, that B.A.C.A was a group of bikers who help and they support kids who've been abused. before the abuse, I do remember like a happy, just normal life.
Rhythm was very carefree. She was loving and fun.
When I told my mom, she talked to me for about an hour.
She came in and she said, I'm being abused, and I want you to know I don't want it to happen anymore. I want it to stop.
My extended family didn't think my story was true. They thought a lot of it was made up. I had night terrors. I was seeing like 2-3 counselors. That was partially why my counselor informed us about B.A.C.A.
Level 1 is the first interaction that the child's going to have with the entire chapter. It's where we bring that child in and make them part of our biker family.
Leading up to the night of my level 1, I was kind of like not sure what to expect. All I knew is that there was going to be a lot of bikers at my house in the morning.
And when a child's been brought into B.A.C.A, and we decided that it's a case that fits our mission, we as the chapter as a whole will ride off to wherever the child feels safe at to meet. That means the whole chapter goes. Everybody's had a background check for bride.
There's a little bit of a ceremony that goes on with it. The child's reminded about the initial contact where everything is explained to them, what B.A.C.A is, what we do, what we don't do.
We present them with a vest, and it has a patch on the back of it and their road name, and it just makes them feel part of.
They get assigned 2 of the members as primaries. Those members are on call for that child 24/7 around the clock.
Peppermint, would you like to meet your primaries now? We have Rembrandt and Lucy. Rembrandt and Lucy have always been here for me, and B.A.C.A will always be here for you.
Hi, Peppermint. I'm Lucy. It's nice to meet you.
Hi, Peppermint. I'm Rembrandt. It's nice to meet you.
Seeing this like group of adults, bikers, like being so kind, not even bringing up what happened to me, just saying like, hey, we're here for you, like we're your new family. It meant the world to me.
The level 1 is probably something that is the most empowering part of what we do, because we see a huge change in these children. After about 40-45 minutes, those kids are interacting with our members. In some areas, they go for rides with the membership. They take them on a short ride around the neighborhood.
They looked at her like she was just another amazing young kid.
We're just there just to empower them, to show them that there's people out there that really care about them, and that they're becoming part of our family. And then when they become part of our family, that we have their backs.
When there's a court case, if the judge allows us, we will escort that child to the courthouse. A lot of times when kids go to court, the family members of the perpetrator will show up and they try to intimidate that child.
Carry me home when the light in my eyes does fade. Carry me home when the shadow comes to take me away. Lay down my bones, knowing I'll be in a better place. Release my soul, carry me home. Carry me home, there's a sorrow down in the ground. Carry me home, don't you weep for I am freedom bound. Lay down my bones, there is peace within the light I found. Release my soul, carry me home.
Are you scared?
No,
You're not?
my friends are a lot scarier than he is.
Carry me home when the light in my eyes does fade.
When I see these kids, the light come back into their eyes. I get more out of B.A.C.A than I could ever put in.
Standing up for child abuse is probably one of the bravest things somebody can do.
You see them after we get involved, and their self-confidence is beaming. They're doing better in school, and they're not afraid anymore. And that's what we do. We give them their life back.
I grew as an individual. I joined clubs in high school. I became varsity captain of the cheer team. I was a vice president. I'm going to college. I owe that to every single person in my life, especially B.A.C.A, who stood by me and who supported me and said, it's okay to be scared. We're here for you until you're not.
Nobody gets paid in B.A.C.A. Everybody's volunteer from the president down.
We, my brothers and sisters, will do whatever we can to make sure that they feel safe. And when we do that, they can trust again and they can start being kids again. That's what I get out of B.A.C.A.
Everything on this patch means something. The white is the innocence of the child.
The red is the blood that's been shed.
The black represents the dark times that child is going through.
The skull and crossbones is death to child abuse.
The fist is our commitment to fight child abuse. And the chains on this patch stands for one B.A.C.A, one united nation. This patch means everything to me. This is my family.
If you are being abused, if you are scared, tell somebody.
We are back in studio. I hope you enjoyed that video, and it shed just a bit more light on exactly how Bikers Against Child Abuse works, the impact that they have in all communities, not just here in Long Island and across the state, but internationally. And it is now my honor and privilege to introduce Uprizer, who is the Public Relations Director for the Long Island chapter of B.A.C.A here. Welcome to the show, Uprizer.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure, man. Thanks. We got to do this on the second go-round, but it was meant to be. Tell us a little bit more about the origins of the organization.
Okay, so Bikers Against Child Abuse started in 1995. It was a registered child play therapist based out of Utah. And some of the kids that he treated were victims of child abuse. And what he was noticing during his visits, he would make great progress with these kids. By the time they got back to him, it was a step backwards. A lot of situations where these kids were being contacted by the perpetrator or the perpetrator's family. Listen, we all know the stories of what happens to people that abuse children once they go to prison. So they're desperate people. They're going to do whatever they can, to try and get these kids to just continuously live in fear. So what he did, his name was J.P. Lilly. He was also a biker. It was said that I think 36 motorcycles, 40 people in total took a visit to one of these kids' houses that he was treating. For people that aren't in the biker community, there's a camaraderie, a brotherhood and sisterhood that is evident when bikers are together. And these kids pick up on that right away. Scout mentioned, we do level ones where our whole chapter, to sidetrack a little bit, our patches, everything on the patch stands for something. The chains are unity. That's one B.A.C.A. When we do a level one, we'll have members from Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts show up for our level ones. Scout recently went to a level one for Staten Island chapter. So again, when they did that initial visit with this child, the level of empowerment that they noticed from that one visit kind of was head and shoulders above anything he could do, with this kid treating him in the office situation. And it's also said that after that visit took place, they received a call from the child's mother that that child had went out and played for the first time since his abuse took place. So from that point on, they just figured they were onto something where now, fluctuates a little bit, 46 to 48 states with multiple chapters. We have 8 in New York, and we're in 18 countries. So we're worldwide.
Wow.
And again, these level ones, there's different things we do to empower the children. The level one is without a doubt the most, that highest level of empowerment. It's where we take that child in, they get their own cut. They get to pick their own name, which right there is empowering to them. And a lot of times the names that we see these kids pick, We had a girl, maybe 10, 11 years old, that weighed 50 pounds soaking wet. She picked the name The Beast. We have a boss. We have, again, it's just all about the empowerment. And again, when we pull up to these level ones, 9 out of 10 times the kid's holding on to a mother's leg,
right.
Not sure what to expect. Within 15 minutes, they're all over us.
Yeah.
And it's a sight to see, because as we pull down, you'll see doors open with neighbors, checking out to see what's going on. 15 minutes later, there's 9 bikers playing duck, duck, goose on the front lawn with, 3 kids. So, again, that whole empowerment, when we give the child their cut, each member signs the inside back of their cut. And, we let them know that represents we have their back. You could go all over the country and see this cut, and these kids know that I'm a part of that family now. So again, it's just that the empowerment over and over again that we try, just push on these kids.
I've got goosebumps hearing that story, so I can't imagine how these kids feel. How long have you been doing this?
Prior to COVID, so it was like 2019. Again, it's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And, again, our payback is where we see a child that's just scared of the world, develop into, just watching the growth. We have kids that were B.A.C.A children that are now members of B.A.C.A.
Wow.
So, it had that type of impact on their life that, it was important enough to them to say, I want to do this and help. It's people see, the positive impact that we have on these kids. Again, if you go to BACAworld.org, this is above my pay grade. There is a study, it's done by a clinical psychiatrist that shows what we do works.
Right.
Kids that are involved in our organization, statistically, the numbers, of them willing to testify are higher.
Right.
Again, that factor of having us there, as a shoulder, it really helps these kids.
Now, 2-pronged question. How do you get your cases? And question that we haven't asked up to this point, but maybe some of our viewers are wondering how. Why would we entrust you or your organization with the well-being of the kid? What qualifies you and the organization's
So getting
members?
back to where we get them, we work in conjunction with state and local agencies, CPS, law enforcement, basically wherever anyone's reporting any type of abuse, we get kids from those situations. I had a situation where Scout's actually the primary to this child. I was having lunch with my son one day at a bagel store. I had my bike. I saw a child, he was maybe 7 or 8. I saw him and his mom looking at the bike, and, they had gone into a store, and we happened to walk out at the same time. And, I told the mom, I'm like, he could sit on the bike if he wants. I let him start it up, and
wow. The
the mom saw who we were and just broke down. I mean, she was hysterical. And she said, I'm going through a situation now, without getting into details. I gave her a number to contact. And her son's a child, one of our members now. Again, as far as trusting us, what we do works. You know what I mean? How everything gets started, we have a child liaison. So they're contacted by a family, whether it comes through a referral or not. A child liaison will go to the house with at least 1 to 2 other members. We have a video which you showed previously. We show that to the family. If the family thinks it's a fit, we set up the level 1, which is the next process. If they don't, we walk away. We don't force ourselves into any situation. And, we have a 2-patch rule that no child is ever left with less than, minimum of 2 of us. The guardian is always present. We do not take children out of the house. If the family decides they want to go to a park, that guardian's always present with us while we're there. And that's pretty much it. I mean, again, we have a proven track record. Right. We're around 30
I know
years.
There's also, how many years have you been around?
Well, 30 years, 1995.
This is the Long Island chapter?
No, that's Long Island, I think, was 2001 to 2002.
Right, so you're going on more than a couple decades.
Yeah. Yep.
What's the vetting process? I know there's also a training process.
Yes.
So, you guys aren't just picked off the street. Hey, you ride bikes, you want patches, and come take care of these kids.
So what we do is we have monthly meetings. They're held the second Sunday of every month. The Scout mentioned the 17th because we have some personnel that are not going to be here. So as a new member, you have to have access to a bike, two wheels. We have husbands and wives where the wife doesn't ride, but she's a passenger. They're eligible to become members. So they have to show up to 3 consecutive meetings. After that 3rd consecutive meeting, we set up an appointment and have an FBI fingerprint done. As long as there's no history of spousal or child abuse,
right?
We'll listen. They're bikers. There's a history with some.
I'm an ex-felon, my friend.
So
anybody can turn their life around.
So as long as that type of abuse hasn't happened, their fingerprints, they come back clean. Then they come in as a supporter. So they'll get the patch here. They don't get their back patch yet. There's, I believe, 60 plus training modules they have to take.
Right.
It takes about a year and a half. And it gives us an opportunity to get to know these people. We have requirements. Members have to show up to 80% of, our meetings. They have to show up to all our level ones. That's a mandatory.
You got to be committed.
It is. It's a big commitment. After that year and a half, if we see that they're a fit, the CEB will vote to take that supporter in as a full member. And then at that point, they get their full patch. We've had members removed, because they don't show up to what they need to.
Right. Or they thought it was cool. Oh, this will be nice.
You know what? It's not us saying, you're not here. You're letting a kid down if you're not there to do 100% of the mission. Right. You have to be there. I mean, I have a child that I was, primary to. I think she called me at like 11 o'clock on a Saturday. And this is, a 13-year-old. I was on the phone with her for 5 hours, watching videos of, I don't want anyone else but Taylor Swift. And I'm like, it was just an all-day process. That's what this is about.
Right,
it's you have to be there.
She doesn't have that.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing most of the abusers are men.
Not always, but a majority of them.
Most.
Yeah.
It just tends to skew that way. I'm sure there's abusive moms as well. Scott was gracious enough to not share any specifics, but just offer up how you guys are able to support the family, not necessarily intimidate the abuser.
We had a situation where this same girl, she had to go to court to testify against her father. Now, I know as an adult, I've been called into court, and it gives you knots in your stomach. So you can only imagine what, a 9, 10, 11-year-old kid's going through.
Who's been abused and made to feel less than most of their lives. Yeah.
She sat there, we were waiting to get called in, and literally like a statue. And I'm, just looking straight ahead. And I'm like, you okay? She's like, I just don't want you guys to see me cry. And we were there for, again, about an hour waiting. By the time she got called in, she said, I can't wait for him to see you guys walk in with me. And just, again, we're all volunteer. That's our payoff. When you see a child, just terrified to the point where she's saying, I can't wait to go in there now. That's where we see the difference. Again, we see some of these kids that are just, they're in a shell when we meet them the first time. A nice thing that we do, we hold we have a holiday party, a summer party where we've had 90 kids show up. And I love that because these kids get to see they're not alone. They're not going through this abuse, that there's other kids in this situation and they didn't do anything wrong. It's just nice to see them get together, and experience. Unfortunately, it's not a good experience, but to know they're not alone in the fight that they're going through.
So you also get the kids together once, maybe twice a year?
Yeah, we do a minimum of two activities a year. We usually have a holiday party. We just had a summer party a few weeks ago. All the members are there. It's again, I'm not even including just the dedication of the members that we have. We have a business owner that, he has these huge catering trucks that he donates all the food. He mentioned Hope, that this woman's amazing. I mean, the planning and the effort she goes through just to make sure these events all come together. It's just an amazing thing to see. It's just a great group of people.
And what are some of the challenges that you're facing as a nonprofit organization?
Well, again, we're bikers. It's kind of unorthodox for some of these agents when they see us walk in.
And by agents, you mean like the counselor?
We deal with Vibes, the Safe Center, eventually, who's no longer, they're gone, but CPS, again, it's not what you picture when you say you want to help kids. So that's a tough obstacle. But we're working on it.
The minute you guys open your mouths, though,
and
it's received differently.
Right, and again, we do a lot of presentations where we go in, we show the video, we show explain what a level 1 is, what a level 2 is, and people walk out in tears. I mean, it really, it's impactful, and but again, it's like anything else. It's sales. You try to get your foot in the door, and once you're there, the flow of kids that we have. Last year was an incredible busy year for us.
Nice.
We were doing, like 2 level 1s every weekend. Sometimes we had 2.
Now, you guys, are you paid for this?
No, everything's volunteer. We don't, our own gas. Again, we do parties, 90%. We don't even touch the money that we have.
Right.
A member will say, all right, I'll pick this up. Another member is, I'll take care of this. I'll take care of that.
Donations, I'll chip in.
We try and save, whatever money we do receive for donations. Again, some families don't have counseling. Some families can't even afford an Uber to go see a therapist. So, we'll take care of that. 100% of whatever we raise goes directly to the kids,
Count me in for if you guys need video capture or during your holiday or your summer events where you get the kids together.
Right.
If they're comfortable, we can blur out or just get the backs of heads.
That's one of the things that we do as well is the anonymity of the children.
Right.
Anyone other than a patched member or supporter, we can't have around any of the kids. We've even had situations where, we'll pull 30 bikes into a meeting place for a kid and people will just automatically take photos. Mm-hmm. We'll have to go to them and let them know, listen, you can take pictures of the bikes, the kids are off limits.
So maybe not for the holiday parties with the kids, but in any way that you guys maybe need a videographer or something, I'm willing to sponsor.
That would be great.
Guys here on the island, I'll take care of the bill in terms of you need them for 2 hours, 3 hours, so we can get more of the message out. Because unfortunately and fortunately, we're once you're past 40, social media is the way to go.
Yep. It's again, we showed up to that event. There were 500 some odd people there. We're kind of we never heard of you guys. We want to get to the point where it's like, oh, you guys again?
Yeah.
Just not enough people know. I mean, even in the biker community don't know we exist. And that's what we're trying to bring about, awareness. We want to get to every kid out there that's been abused. I know it's not possible, but again, like that kid came through the bagel store. It didn't come through your regular channels where victims of abuse come through. So,
and when people know your name, they're more likely to seek you out.
Right.
And I think run-of-the-mill social programs, I'm sure they work. But I got a feeling that you guys run at the highest level with the same structure that some of these well-known nonprofits would be able to have a higher success rate because of the perception and because of the ambiance that you guys bring to the table. You'll be able to attract more bikers. You'll be able to attract more people that want to ride a bike because they want to do this.
Right.
And then there's that camaraderie and it's a snowball effect. So however I can help you guys in terms of getting your social media message out.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, please don't hesitate. We got each other's number. I just want you to leave some parting words to maybe someone who's out there suffering and needs to find some help. And then obviously how they can find out more about B.A.C.A here in Long Island and how people can help you monetarily or with their time.
So basically, Scout mentioned you just go to BACAworld.org. That'll bring you up to our international website. There's an international video there that explains what we do in detail. It'll also bring up, if you ride and you're interested in becoming a member, it'll bring you to there's a link for chapters. It'll bring you to every chapter worldwide, international and here in the States. Again, every chapter is looking for members. We're looking for people that, again, you contact. There's a phone number. It usually tells where their meetings are being held. You just go to that link, look that up, show up to a meeting. And again, it's not for everyone.
Right.
You show up to a meeting, you sit down. It's, believe it or not, a very corporate structure.
Right.
We have a president report, a VP report, a treasurer, a sergeant of arms, child liaison who gives reports for what's going on with all the kids. And again, it's not for everybody, but if you ride, it's more with people that hate child abuse who happen to ride.
Yeah.
You know, so if that's your feeling, then it's definitely an organization worth checking out.
Awesome. Brother, I just want to thank you for coming on to the show today, for you and Scout dedicating your time, not only to come onto the show, but for what you do, because you're not being paid. I'm guessing you probably both have families and obligations and jobs, mortgages, all that good stuff that could deter you and distract you. But yet and still you get up and you do this great thing.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see how you guys grow, because just from the change that I heard from when we first met to now, we're moving in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys for tuning in. We hope you got something valuable out of the show. And if you know anyone, I mean anyone, who's being abused, please find the information in the bio. Go visit B.A.C.A online. You've heard the website a few times. I don't want to screw it up, but we'll have that in the bio. And again, giving is truly living. So don't make this about yourself. Make it about someone else. Donate your time, donate your money, donate your energy to something that's helping someone else get out of a poor situation, because you never know. That might be somebody you love. As always, thank you for tuning in. Let's get it.